Okay, so if you've been anywhere near a little kid in the past, say, 10 years, you have absolutely heard them. You know, those super bright, colorful, relentlessly cheerful nursery rhyme videos? They rack up billions of views on YouTube. But here's the thing, there's so much more than just digital babysitters. They are, and this is wild, a massive hidden curriculum for life.
And it almost always starts with something really, really simple. A phrase just like this one. It's the sound of a kid figuring out, hey, there's a problem. But what comes next? That's where it gets fascinating. Because it's a script, a formula that just gets repeated again and again and again.
And that is exactly what we are going to break down here. We're going to look right past the bouncing animals and the catchy little melodies to uncover the surprisingly sophisticated lessons that are being taught about everything from how to handle pain to, navigating tricky social stuff. So we'll start with how these videos work as a kind of digital pacifier. Then we'll dissect the idea of a boo-boo to really get at emotional regulation. After that, we'll look at the lessons they teach about a sharing economy. And finally, we'll get into the repetition engine that makes all of this so darn effective. All right, first up, the digital pacifier. We're calling it that because, well, let's be honest, these videos are incredibly good at one specific thing: calming a child down instantly. I mean, you know the scene, right? A tantrum is brewing, a screen magically appears, and suddenly, there's peace. But the key thing to realize here is that the child isn't just being distracted. Nope, they're actually being taught. The real question is, taught what? Which brings us right to the heart of this whole curriculum, the boo-boo. It seems like such a simple concept, but it's actually the foundation for an entire system of problem solving. So what even is a boo-boo in this world? It's not just a scrape or a bump on the knee. In the universe of these songs, a boo-boo could be anything from falling off your bike to just feeling kinda sad. It becomes this universal symbol for something is wrong and it needs to be fixed. And that problem, it's always handled with the exact same formula. First, there's an event. Then, you clearly state the problem. That's immediately followed by a reassurance from a parent or caregiver. And then, boom, a simple, direct solution. This four-step process gives a kid a predictable and really comforting script for dealing with any kind of distress. And you can see how this framework just builds on itself. The curriculum kicks off with obvious physical stuff, falling down, tripping over something, but it very quickly expands to cover more abstract emotional issues, like feeling low, or being tired, or just needing a good cry. And the same boo-boo logic gets applied to all of it. Right, and the solutions, they get a little more complex, too. For these bigger feelings, the answers are still super clear and concrete. It's time to take your medicine, or my little baby needs to sleep, and of course, always, always getting that reassurance from a parent. Every problem has a tangible fix. Okay, so once you've mastered your own pain, the curriculum levels up. Now we're talking about social conflict. And this is where we see some of the most explicit and, honestly, sophisticated lessons about how to get along with other people. And the script for solving these fights? It is incredibly simple. One kid says what they want, I want to play. The other refuses, it's mine today. And the solution is like a magic spell. You say, please, and that immediately leads to sharing and playing together. Conflict is born and solved in the space of like 2 lines. And trust me, this is not just a one-time thing. This social lesson is applied to a huge range of classic kid conflicts. We're talking about the playground slide, the swing, toy cars, dolls, even lollipops and bubbles. The exact same lesson, just repeated across dozens and dozens of scenarios. Yeah, and unlike pretty much all adult media, there is zero subtext here. The moral of the story is always spelled out plain and simple. This is the main thesis of the entire social curriculum. Sharing and caring is just the way it should be, period. Okay, so we've got the what, the contents of the curriculum. But what about the how? Why does this stuff stick in a kid's brain so effectively? Well, it all comes down to the engine that powers this whole thing: repetition. Just look at this number, 6. That's how many times the phrase wah, wah, wah is repeated back to back in one little part of one song. It is not subtle, and it is definitely not an accident. It's totally by design. And you see this pattern everywhere. Key phrases are just hammered in over and over and over, drilling the sounds, the words, and the ideas into the listener's mind. It's basically the audio version of a flashcard, just playing on a constant loop. So, Here it is. This is the key to the whole thing. It all comes down to this super simple, totally predictable, and infinitely repeatable formula. A problem shows up, a caregiver gives reassurance, and a solution is provided. This loop, it's like the operating system for the entire curriculum. And that's really the world these videos are building, right? It's a world where every single issue, whether it's a physical boo-boo or a fight over a toy car, can be solved by following a simple, calm, and really clear set of steps. And that kind of leaves us with this one big question. I mean, this curriculum is incredibly efficient at teaching solutions, but real life is often messy, and problems don't always have a neat three-step fix. So, when our kids' very first lessons about how the world works are this optimized, what does that actually mean for the messy, unpredictable, and creative work of just playing?